They told her to wait outside. She owns the damn airline. The words hit like thunder, not shouted but swallowed in silence. At Atlanta International, under the soft glow of first-class chandeliers, Monica Langston stood still. Chief Executive Officer of Liberty Air, founder, visionary, a black woman who built an empire 35,000 feet above judgment. But in this moment, she was just another face they overlooked. "Ma'am, the lounge is for Diamond members only," the attendant smiled dismissively. The white man behind her welcomed without question. Monica didn't argue. She didn't flinch. She simply stepped back and began the most important investigation of her life. What she uncovered would shake the company to its core. Stay with this story, because real power doesn't raise its voice. It rewrites the rules. And Monica Langston? She's about to fire everyone who forgot who she is. 2 weeks earlier, 38th floor, Liberty Air headquarters, Atlanta, Georgia. Rain streaked across the floor-to-ceiling windows of Monica Langston's office. The city below looked hazy, unfocused. A mirror of the airline's recent trajectory. Customer satisfaction was down. Complaints were up. The numbers weren't lying, but they weren't telling the full story either. Something was off. Elaine Summers, her COO of 15 years, walked in without knocking, a habit Monica had long forgiven. Elaine's silver bob swayed as she dropped a tablet on the table. "We're down 13% quarter over quarter," Elaine said. "And the complaints? They've changed. Less about flight delays, more about treatment, tone, inconsistency." Monica tapped the screen. The words "flagged for random," "denied upgrade," and "rude staff" appeared again and again, almost always tied to passengers of color. "We're missing something," Monica said quietly. "Something human." Elaine squinted. "Please tell me you're not thinking what I think you're thinking." Monica smiled, that quiet, unstoppable smile. "Remember 2004? West Coast routes bleeding revenue? I went ground crew for a week. Found out 3 supervisors were skipping maintenance checks to hit budget goals." Elaine groaned. "Monica, that was 20 years ago. You're the CEO now. You sit on Fortune panels. You keynote at Stanford. You don't wear economy seatbelts anymore." "Exactly," Monica said, "which is why no one will recognize me." 4 days later, Monica became Denise Holloway, a retired literature professor visiting old friends across the country. She grew out her natural curls, wore budget sneakers, ditched her custom-tailored blazers for a $39 cardigan from Target. She used her middle name on bookings, paid with her personal visa, and refused every upgrade offered through her legit Diamond Elite status. No VIP lounges, no priority boarding, no, "Ma'am, we've been expecting you." Just the raw Liberty Air experience, the way everyday passengers lived it. Day 1, Boston to Chicago. A gate agent brushed past her to help a white woman who cut the line. Day 2, Denver to Phoenix. She watched a black teen get pulled for random security while 3 white frat bros breezed past with oversized bags. Day 3, Chicago to Seattle. A Latina mother was berated by a flight attendant for asking for warm milk for her baby. Monica didn't interrupt. She didn't even frown. She simply pulled out a weathered leather notebook and wrote it all down. Time, gate number, employee names from the badges they wore without thought. And then, on day 6, in Atlanta, it happened to her. Dismissed, ignored, told to wait. While we sort things out. She wasn't angry. She was certain. This wasn't occasional bias. It was embedded. And if Liberty Air could treat its own founder like this, what were they doing to passengers without power, without a voice? Monica took a deep breath, checked her watch, and walked away from the lounge. Not defeated, just activated. Day 7, flight, Denver to Atlanta. The cabin buzzed with typical boarding energy. The shuffle of bags, the beep of boarding passes, the polite chaos of seat disputes. Monica Langston, aka Denise Holloway, settled into 18C, middle seat coach class, surrounded by tired travelers and recycled air. She'd flown 5 legs in 7 days. Her notebook was thick with observations, passive dismissals, aggressive tone shifts, a steady stream of random security checks aimed suspiciously in one direction. But it wasn't until this flight that the lines began to connect. As she stowed her bag, she noticed an older black gentleman, maybe mid-60s, struggling with his overhead luggage just 2 rows ahead. The flight attendant, a woman in her 30s with a stiff bun and a tighter smile, walked right past him. No offer of help, no eye contact. 3 rows up, a younger white man was offered assistance before he even lifted his roller bag. Monica's jaw clenched, not with surprise, but recognition. This wasn't random. This was rhythm, repetition, a pattern. She glanced at the flight attendant's name tag. Diane W. noted. Mid-flight, Monica pretended to nap, head tilted, eyes half closed, but her ears were sharp. Diane was seated in the back jump seat, texting rapidly between beverage service. A notification flashed, Thomas Reed. Monica's breath caught. Reed was the operations director for Liberty Air, promoted 14 months ago after the Eastern Continental merger. She'd barely paid attention at the time. His numbers were efficient, his staff reviews clean, but something about him had always felt cold. Discreetly, Monica adjusted her glasses and leaned slightly, her phone angled like a mirror. She saw enough. Black woman raising hell at ATL Lounge. Flagged her for random. Usual protocol. You know the drill. Monica sat back, the bile rising in her throat. She sipped ginger ale to steady herself. This wasn't bias. This was a system with codes, processes. People who knew what flagged meant and used it against the very passengers Liberty Air claimed to serve. And Thomas Reed wasn't just tolerating it, he was coordinating it. When they landed in Atlanta, Monica waited until most passengers had deplaned. She moved slow, intentional. As she stepped onto the jet bridge, a familiar voice caught her ear. Well, look who it is. Calvin Mitchell, the sharp-eyed frequent flyer she'd met at the lounge earlier that week, stood arguing, calmly but firmly, with a gate agent. 4 damn times I've been dropped off the upgrade list. I checked in early. I was first on the list. Now I'm 12th? The gate agent, young, barely 25, offered a corporate smile that didn't touch his eyes. The system updates dynamically, sir. It considers multiple factors. And those factors always seem to bump me behind someone who looks like you. The agent blinked, not responding. Monica stepped forward. Mr. Mitchell. Calvin turned. Relief flickered across his face. Ms. Holloway, still flying with Liberty? Still observing, she replied quietly. They stepped aside. Monica pulled out her notebook. Would you be willing to go on record about your experiences? Dates, routes, names if possible. Calvin studied her. You with the press? Something like that, Monica said. Let's just say, I'm in a position to make this matter. He didn't push, just nodded slowly. I've got a 2-hour layover. Let's grab coffee. They sat in a quiet terminal cafe near Gate C11. Monica listened as Calvin recounted dozens of incidents, extra screenings, denied upgrades. Lounge access suddenly glitched, staff brushing him off while catering to other passengers. Individually, maybe they're just glitches. But after a while, Calvin leaned in. You know what it is, you feel it. Monica nodded. She knew. She had lived it. It started after the merger, he added. Eastern Continental folks came in. Since then, it's different. Monica's pen paused. She stared at him. Eastern Continental. Calvin sipped his coffee. Yeah, word is Reed and his people brought their own systems in. New rules, new attitude. The puzzle pieces clicked, loudly, violently, in Monica's mind. Thomas Reed, Eastern Continental, systemic targeting, disguised as efficiency. As Calvin walked off to catch his flight, Monica's hands trembled slightly as she packed up her notes. This wasn't about a bad employee. This was a deliberate network of discrimination rooted in Liberty Air's leadership. Invisible to data, but obvious to the people who lived it. I need more, she whispered to herself. More stories, more proof. And then, judgment. She pulled out her phone and texted Elaine. Not just bias, systemic. We need to talk. Emergency meeting when I return. This is no longer an observation mission. This is war. And Monica Langston is building her case one receipt at a time. Atlanta, Georgia, Liberty Air headquarters, 38th floor. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Monica Langston stepped out, no longer wearing sneakers and a cardigan. Today it was a deep navy blue pantsuit tailored to perfection, her hair pulled back into a clean, regal bun. Her face, calm, unreadable. It had been 13 days since she'd been told to wait outside her own lounge. Now, no one would be waiting anymore. Elaine Summers met her halfway down the hallway, already holding a thick folder. Her face was tight with focus. "Everything's arranged," she said in a low voice. "Legal's on standby, HR's on alert. The board meeting is in 20. "Good," Monica replied. "Any pushback?" Elaine smirked. "Johnson whined about missing his golf game. I told him to imagine Liberty Air in a congressional hearing instead." "Perfect," Monica said. "Let's go remind them who built this airline." The boardroom on the 39th floor was always cold, by design, a place where billion-dollar decisions were made in comfort, but never in complacency. 12 board members sat in high-back leather chairs, men and women in sharp suits, veterans of finance, operations, and shareholder politics. When Monica entered, the room fell into a hush. She didn't offer coffee or pleasantries. She placed her notebook on the table, the same one she'd carried on 6 different flights under the name Denise Holloway, and looked every board member dead in the eye. "Thank you for making time," she began. "What I'm about to share will disturb you, but it must be heard, and it must be acted on." For the next 40 minutes, Monica presented her case, methodically, surgically. Data showing the drop in satisfaction, specifically among passengers of color. Testimonies from long-term customers like Calvin Mitchell. Screenshots of texts between staff coordinating random checks and upgrade denials. A pattern of behavior involving 17 employees, most hired or promoted after the Eastern Continental merger, and finally, her own experience. She paused before delivering the final blow. 2 weeks ago, I flew our airline under the name Denise Holloway. No special access, no CEO perks, just a passenger. I was profiled, delayed, denied access, dismissed, just like hundreds of others whose complaints we filed under technical issues. And I wasn't alone. I watched it happen again and again, at our gates, in our lounges, on our flights. Silence. This isn't bad training. This isn't oversight. This is systemic discrimination enabled by internal policy changes. And I won't allow it to destroy what I built. Predictably, Richard Johnson, the most conservative board member and a former Eastern Continental executive, scoffed. "With all due respect, Monica, this sounds anecdotal. You had a bad week. That doesn't justify a witch hunt." Monica didn't blink. "Let me ask you something, Mr. Johnson. When was the last time you flew commercial? Coach class?" "I don't remember." "Exactly, but our passengers do. And they remember how we made them feel. That's what they carry. That's what they tweet. That's what they share." She let the silence sit. Then, "I'm recommending immediate termination of 17 employees, including Thomas Reed, including Diane Walker, including Sarah Jennings." The CFO leaned forward nervously. "There's going to be legal blowback, wrongful termination suits, NDA violations. This could affect the stock." Monica straightened her shoulders. "And you're worried about stock? Let me be very clear. What I'm proposing is not just a purge. It's a recommitment to our values, the very ones this airline was built on: dignity, equity, and service. The real threat to our stock? A lawsuit from the DOJ, a class action civil rights case, or worse, becoming a viral story for all the wrong reasons." The board voted, 10 in favor, 2 opposed, Johnson and another Eastern Continental legacy member. Monica didn't flinch. She already knew where the rot had started. That afternoon, the reckoning began. One by one, the names on her list were called into private meetings. Security was present, discreet but firm. Devices were collected. HR was present with documents. Monica insisted on delivering the first 5 terminations herself. Thomas Reed sat across from her in the executive conference room, looking stunned. "Ms. Langston, I wasn't even aware you knew who I was." "I know exactly who you are," she said. "Operations Director, Eastern Continental Transfer. Architect of policy changes that disproportionately targeted passengers of color." Reed tried to spin. "We have protocols that magically applied to black passengers more than anyone else?" She interrupted. She slid a manila folder across the table. "Here's the evidence. Your texts, your flagged upgrade lists, your manipulated algorithms." Reed laughed, bitter. "You can't prove intent." "I don't need to. I just need to show impact. And this is impact with a paper trail. You're done." By 7 p.m., 17 employees had been walked out of the building. Some left in silence, some left crying, a few shouted, one threatened a lawsuit. Monica didn't care, because Liberty Air was bleeding from the inside, and she had just cauterized the wound. She stood at her office window, watching a Boeing 737 take off in the orange Atlanta sunset. Elaine walked in, 2 coffees in hand. "You did it," she said quietly. "Phase 1, Monica replied. "Phase 2? Broadcast." At 9 a.m. the next morning, Monica stood in front of every Liberty Air employee. Live streamed across terminals, hangars, lounges, offices, and even in-flight screens. No script, no teleprompter, just truth. This company was founded on the belief that everyone deserves respect, no matter who they are, where they come from, or what seat they're in. We lost our way, but not anymore. As of yesterday, we removed 17 employees whose behavior violated everything we stand for. There are more reviews ongoing. Some of you may be angry. Some of you may feel exposed. That's okay. Growth is uncomfortable, but Liberty Air will no longer tolerate discrimination in any form. Not in our lounges, not at our gates, not 35,000 feet in the air. We serve people, all people. The message hit like a lightning bolt. Emails flooded in, some defensive, some tearful, most grateful. Monica Langston didn't just clean house. She reminded the entire industry that leadership isn't about image, it's about courage. 1 week later, Liberty Air headquarters, Atlanta, Georgia. Liberty Air was still in the news, but now for the right reasons. CNN ran a segment titled, "CEO Who Went Undercover Fires 17 Employees for Discrimination." Forbes followed with, "Monica Langston's Masterclass in Quiet Power." But Monica didn't care about headlines. She cared about foundation, because when a house cracks, you don't repaint it, you rebuild it from the ground up. The first step, culture. Monica established a new internal office, Ethics and Equity Division, reporting directly to her. At its head, Calvin Mitchell, the longtime Diamond member whose voice helped trigger the investigation. When Calvin received the offer, he thought it was a mistake. "You want me? A sales rep who flies 3 weeks a month?" "Exactly," Monica said. "You represent the people we serve. You noticed what most of us missed, and you had the guts to speak up." Calvin hesitated. "I'm not an executive. I'm just a guy who sees what happens at Gate B22 every Monday." "That's exactly who we need at the table," Monica replied. Monica also launched a Passenger Advisory Council, a diverse panel of real customers from different races, backgrounds, income levels, and travel histories. Their job, to test Liberty's systems, monitor bias, and tell the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. Among them were a disabled Army veteran who once waited 40 minutes for a boarding assistant, a Latina small business owner who'd been denied lounge entry despite proper credentials, a Muslim mother of 3 who'd been randomly selected on 6 flights in a row. No more filtered surveys. No more "your feedback is valuable." This council, Monica told the board, is our new moral compass. The next change hit harder. Internally, every Liberty employee from baggage handler to senior VP would now complete mandatory in-person bias training, not just once, but every 6 months. They would also complete a passenger empathy simulation where executives and managers would go undercover once per year. Traveling coach, navigating terminals without ID badges or title shields. Monica called it Passenger Experience Day. The reaction was mixed. "This is ridiculous," one regional manager whispered in a leadership meeting. "We're not flight attendants." "You're right," Monica said from across the table. But our passengers don't care about titles. They care about how we make them feel. Silence. Meanwhile, Monica's people dug deep into the back-end systems. The algorithms, the seat upgrade logic, the security risk flags built post-merger. Turns out several filters had been manually adjusted to deprioritize passengers based on non-performance data. Variables like flight check-in method, name matching, often coded by ethnicity, and even zip code. It was disguised discrimination. The code didn't say black, it said zip code 30314. The code didn't say immigrant, it said non-English primary preference. That changed fast. Every line of code, every sorting protocol, every data field. Reviewed, rebuilt, restructured with transparency. Then came the recognitions. Monica personally called James Rivera, the Denver gate agent who helped elderly passengers with patience and kindness, no matter what they looked like. Emily Collins, the flight attendant who once offered to hold a crying toddler for a nervous single mom mid-flight. Zoe Tran, the young Vietnamese-American agent who had welcomed every passenger with equal warmth, no matter their ticket level. Monica didn't just thank them, she promoted them. James became Service Excellence Trainer for the Mountain Region. Emily was now head of in-flight culture. Zoe joined the new guest experience strategy team in Atlanta. But culture takes more than policies. It takes presence. Monica, the once elusive CEO, began showing up at terminals unannounced. No press, no entourage, just a small notebook and a traveler's eye. One afternoon, she walked through Concourse A at LAX. She saw a black family trying to navigate boarding while holding a stroller, 2 toddlers, and 4 carry-ons. A Liberty staffer, probably no older than 22, dropped what she was doing, rushed over, smiled, and said, "I've got you. Let's get you boarded, stress-free." The father nodded, eyes wide in disbelief. "Thank you. This doesn't usually happen." Monica smiled from a distance. That one moment? Worth more than any quarterly report. Still, not everyone embraced the changes. A handful of staff resigned in protest, claiming the company had gone political or overcorrected. Some shareholders grumbled about non-monetary distractions. Monica let them go. "We're not building for the loudest voices," she told Elaine one evening. "We're building for the right ones." By the end of Q2, the results spoke for themselves. Customer satisfaction was up 27%. Repeat bookings among Black and Latino passengers rose 38%. Employee morale surveys hit a 5-year high. And Liberty's stock rebounded after an initial dip, up 12% since the reforms began. And then came the moment Monica didn't expect. One morning, walking through the Atlanta terminal, a young black girl, maybe 11 or 12, spotted her. "Are you the lady from the video?" Monica smiled. "Depends which one." The girl beamed. "My mom said you're the reason we can fly without people treating us like trash. She said you made them see us." Monica blinked back tears. "What's your name?" "Kendall." "Well, Kendall, you just made this the best flight of my day." This wasn't about image. It was about impact. It wasn't about firing bad people. It was about building better ones. 5 years later, Liberty Air Terminal, Atlanta, Georgia. The airport pulsed with energy, announcements over the PA, suitcase wheels scraping linoleum, the familiar whir of aircraft beyond the glass walls. At Gate E14, a quiet moment was forming. Monica Langston, former CEO, pioneer, and architect of Liberty Air's cultural transformation, adjusted the strap on her modest duffel bag. She moved with grace, power softened by age and experience. At 63, the silver in her hair wasn't hidden. It was worn proudly, a crown earned through decades of battles no one saw. Today, she wasn't flying first class. She wasn't speaking on a panel. She wasn't commanding boardrooms. She was preparing for her final passenger experience day, her final undercover mission. Waiting at the gate was Zoe Carter, 42, the current CEO of Liberty Air. And once 5 years ago, just another cheerful flight attendant who had offered Monica a genuine smile and cold ginger ale on a long-haul flight. Now Zoe ran the airline. Poised, passionate, and relentless, she had carried the torch with pride. "You're late," Zoe teased, holding out a duffel bag of undercover gear. "You're getting bold," Monica replied, smirking as she took it. Inside the bag, a gray hoodie, jeans, a baseball cap, and a pair of non-prescription glasses. The same quiet uniform that had started it all. "The team doesn't know it's me, right?" "Only the top 5, Zoe nodded. "Everyone else thinks it's just another experience day shuffle." "Good," Monica said. "Truth needs surprise." After changing in the lounge restroom, Monica emerged not as the former CEO, but as Denise Holloway once again. Traveler, observer, witness. She joined boarding group 4, clutching a $7 airport coffee and watching the people around her more than they watched her. She saw a white woman helping a hijabi mother settle a crying baby, a young gate agent guiding an elderly black couple gently to the pre-boarding line, a pilot kneeling down to talk to a child in a wheelchair with the kind of patience most people fake. Everything felt different, not perfect, but intentional. And that was the legacy Monica had hoped for. On board the flight to Chicago, she was greeted by James Rivera, now VP of Customer Experience, working a surprise rotation with the in-flight team. He recognized her instantly, despite the disguise, but he didn't say her name. He just smiled and said, "Welcome aboard, ma'am. You're in 18A. Let me know if you need anything." His wink said the rest. She settled in, glanced at the boarding process behind her, and observed quietly, just like before. Across the aisle sat a white-haired black woman reading The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. The woman glanced at Monica and smiled warmly. "Flying for business or pleasure, honey?" "Reflection," Monica replied softly. "That's the best kind." The woman didn't recognize her. She didn't need to. This wasn't about being noticed anymore. As the flight climbed to cruising altitude, Monica watched the flight attendants work the aisle. They moved with purpose, spoke with care, greeted each person by name if the manifest allowed. No hurried dismissals, no invisible passengers. 5 years ago, that kind of service was exceptional. Now, it was standard. That was her legacy. Not policies, not press, not profits. Culture. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded letter, worn and creased. Today, she wasn't flying first class. She wasn't speaking on a panel. She wasn't commanding boardrooms. She was preparing for her final passenger experience day, her final undercover mission. Waiting at the gate was Zoe Carter, 42, the current CEO of Liberty Air. And once, 5 years ago, just another cheerful flight attendant who had offered Monica a genuine smile and cold ginger ale on a long-haul flight. Now Zoe ran the airline. Poised, passionate, and relentless, she had carried the torch with pride. "You're late," Zoe teased, holding out a duffel bag of undercover gear. "You're getting bold," Monica replied, smirking as she took it. Inside the bag, a gray hoodie, jeans, a baseball cap, and a pair of non-prescription glasses. The same quiet uniform that had started it all. "The team doesn't know it's me, right?" "Only the top 5, Zoe nodded. "Everyone else thinks it's just another experience day shuffle." "Good," Monica said. "Truth needs surprise." After changing in the lounge restroom, Monica emerged not as the former CEO, but as Denise Holloway once again. Traveler, observer, witness. She joined boarding group 4, clutching a $7 airport coffee and watching the people around her more than they watched her. She saw a white woman helping a hijabi mother settle a crying baby, a young gate agent guiding an elderly black couple gently to the pre-boarding line, a pilot kneeling down to talk to a child in a wheelchair with the kind of patience most people fake. Everything felt different, not perfect, but intentional, and that was the legacy Monica had hoped for. On board the flight to Chicago, she was greeted by James Rivera, now VP of Customer Experience, working a surprise rotation with the in-flight team. He recognized her instantly despite the disguise, but he didn't say her name. He just smiled and said, "Welcome aboard, ma'am. You're in 18A. Let me know if you need anything." His wink said the rest. She settled in, glanced at the boarding process behind her, and observed quietly. Just like before. She didn't just change an airline. She changed an industry. And she did it the quiet way, with a notebook, a middle seat, and a belief that every person, regardless of race, gender, accent, or ticket class, deserved to be seen. Thank you for flying with us through Monica's journey. If this story moved you, share it. Because the world doesn't change from speeches. It changes in the quiet moments when someone chooses dignity, even when no one's watching.